her presentation. So just all the questions, please let it go into the Q&A box. Thank you.
Thank you once again, SKP. Just to also let you know that at the end of the seminar, we're also going to run another poll to get your view on how far your expectations were met. That is important to us as well, so that we show that you were able to get as much out of this as we want you to. Thanks. Okay, I'm going to start, Che. Yeah?
Yes, please.
So today we're going to talk about the bird journey. How do you go from where you are on this journey to being not just a board member, but ultimately become an outstanding value-delivering board member? You know, there's this joke in the boardroom. There are two types of board members. There are the board members who only notice the T's, the I that is not on the dot not on the I, or the bar not on the T. And everything that is said in the board meeting, all they say is, oh, please, I noticed that the T was not crossed, which means that the person was not really involved and is not adding value. And there's the other part of the board membership where you are too much into the weeds, where you begin to become too operational. But either way, there is that balance and there is that place where you are very valuable in terms of what you deliver as a board member, and how that value can move whatever board or company you're on forward. Okay, so I'm going to take us through that journey, and hoping that I'm able to answer a couple of the questions and a couple of the expectations that were already shared with us. So I'll talk very quickly about my own board journey. But before I do that, let me just take you through what the flow will look like. The first thing we're going to be talking about is who am I? And then what is the value that I bring to the table? Where do I deploy this value and how? And then kind of take you to what I call a board track, and then take you to the next level, which is the advancement level. But before I go there, I want to talk to you about my own board journey, very high level. I'm sure you can see the pictures of four women here. Of these four women, I have had the privilege, and I call it a privilege, of being mentored by Madam Ibukwan-Woshika for the past 10 plus years, both in my professional capacity as well as my personal capacity. She is, I'm sure a lot of you know, she's an outstanding woman. But one of the things that most people might not know about her is that she taught me that I could have all. A lot of people are told as women that, you can either be a successful woman, a successful career woman, and fail as a mother or fail as a wife. Most career women don't have good marriages or don't have, good children. But she's shown me that it is very possible, that actually I can have everything. And I do not have to compromise. I do not have to, when I use the word compromise, meaning that compromise my career to be a good mother, or compromise my children or my husband, my marriage to be a professional woman. And she's mentored me, like I said, both professionally and personally. The other person that that has mentored me a lot as well is Madam Shola David Boha. She was the CEO of the group of Standard Bank business in Nigeria, and then she went on to be the CEO of the Standard Bank in Africa, because in Standard Bank we have what we call Africa and other South Africa and other countries in Africa. So she was a group CEO at that time, and then she's retired now, and she's now an academic. But she's one woman also that has taught me how to stand my ground, how to keep my principles while still being outstanding and being able to win in the world that we are as women. I also have had the great opportunity and privilege to be mentored by Madam Aruma Ote. I met her a couple of years ago, and she's been one person who has mentored me, directly. Not as much as I would love to. I mean, she's very busy, like they all are, but she's really been very helpful. Now, there's one person here who I have never met, I've never, spoken to, is Madam Ukonjo Weala, but she's been a mentor to me from a distance. I look at her life, I look at her family, I look at what I see online, what is shared on social media, what I heard about her. And I have followed her, and she's mentored me from that distance. I've never met her, but that is what she's been to me, a mentor from afar. And I'm sharing this with you because it will tell you that as a professional woman who wants to become that voice and wants to be able to work the path as a board member, you have to have mentors from the distance, very close, acquaintances. You learn from everywhere. The first thing you need to do on this journey is to have an open mind and have a mindset of impossibility is nothing. Those two things very important. One, have an open mind, be willing to learn, be teachable, be open, be flexible. The second thing is impossibility is nothing. There's nothing that you cannot. With the right mindset, with the right environment, with the right people to help and help and give you the right information and coaching and strengthening, you are able to achieve anything. And I'll share as throughout the presentation, some of my own personal stories as well, so that you can relate to it. So I'm going to tell you what I think a board work is. Board work is about impact and influence. As an executive, as a senior executive, you find that it is less about your technical skill as you become an executive, as you become a senior executive, is more about your ability to influence people and to impact lives. And that is critical, more than ever in the boardroom. Because in the boardroom, you are not in the operations of the business. You are more in the advisory capacity. You are there to advise management. You are there to give support to management. You are there to help management with the experience that you have to chart the path that is right for the company. And so you find more and more that you are able to influence the management of every company you're on the board of, as well as your peers on the board become very important. And so board work is about influence and impact, which is about leveraging the skills that you have and experience that you have built over time to deliver value to the management and shareholders in a very competitive market, in a unique way that stands us out. And I deliberately made unique, that word unique, bold, because there's something that we as women bring to the table that is very rare and unique to us. And is that intuition, that ability to show empathy and to connect the human side of management, the human side of the board work. That is one of the things that you find. I have read, so many board cases in my recent 2+ months, and you find that unique skill comes out every time you have a woman on the board. She's able to see a broader picture. She's able to see beyond the numbers. She's able to see beyond the operations and the activities of the company. She's able to see the human element and how that plays in all of this to bring out the kind of outcomes that every company wants to see and everybody wants to be part of. So we are unique. We come with that ability, that sixth sense, that intuition that makes us unique, that brings us special, value to the table for us. And as women, as female professionals, we need to capitalize on that in addition to our professional skills and that capacity that we have, that we have to, that will bring us value to the table. So this is what board work is about. I think the first thing that you need to look at, and this is critical, if there's something that you take out of this presentation today or this seminar today, it is this slide. Who am I? And I said this to say that everything you do on the board stems from who you are. Because this is where your principles are. This is where your anchor stays. This is where everything that you are kind of stems from. So who am I? One of the first things you need to do on this journey is what I call self-discovery, rediscovery. At every stage in life, your focus and capacity and knowledge is different. When you were a teenager and in secondary school, it was the same you. However, you only knew as much as you knew as a teenager. When you became 30, you were a junior manager, you were married, you're married, kids that are young children. What you know is different from when you are 40 and then you are a senior executive. So at every time in life, particularly major milestones in your career and life, you rediscover yourself. You find that you have expanded capacity. I don't know about you. I remember that before I got married, I thought I knew everything. I'm very, very vocal, very on there. I could say whatever I thought. After getting married, I understood companionship differently. I understood, working with people differently. And then I learned another level of empathy and tolerance when I gave birth to children. I don't know how many of us have kids. When you have kids, you learn empathy, you learn, managing people completely different. You understand a different way of, managing people. That is what happens. And as you get to this level as well, as you begin to plan to cross from full-time executive work into the board work, you have to rediscover yourself. What is important to me? Where am I in life? What do I want to do? What do I want to leave as a legacy? What will that thing be that is a no-no for me? You need to discover yourself. You need to be self-aware. What are the places where I do not have as I should? Where are the failures? Where are the shortcomings? Self-awareness, where do I need to work in terms of working with people? Am I aware? Am I aware of my environment? Am I able to read the room? What is that thing that I'm not too good at? And what are those things I'm very good at as well that I should leverage on? Because as women, we tend to always look at the places where we have shortcomings and not look at where we are very successful. So all of these things are the things that you need to know in terms of self-awareness, because those things become your strength. And then when you know what is your weakness, you know how to work on that weakness and what to do to leapfrog over that weakness. That is what self-awareness does for you. And then self-worth, very important, because you will find that on the board, you need to know who you are. You need to be able to, because that helps you take a stand when you are on the board. Typically in a board setting, you find established, very successful people on the board, with you as colleagues. And your knowledge of self, your knowledge of self-worth, self-esteem helps you to navigate that complex environment where you are able to show courtesy and mutual respect while still taking a stand and being your own person. So that knowledge of self-worth becomes very important. And I say to everyone that I meet, be your authentic self. When you're on the board, you have come this far. You have very valuable contributions. That's why you are there. That's why you're even on that journey. And so be yourself. You don't have to be like the chairman of the board. You don't have to be like anyone else, because it will show up soon if you're not yourself. You will be tossed around by the wind of anything happening in the board or in your environment when you're not your authentic self. So I would ask you that this slide is critical, because this slide helps to draw the map of how successful you will be as a board member. Self-discovery, self-awareness, self-worth, and then ultimately be your authentic self. It's critical. And I think at this board, or at this part, I'm going to talk about anchors. As a person, you have to be anchored somewhere, because the board there's a lot of responsibility. And you also have in your hand decisions that you make that affect so many people, that can make or break a company. You are at that point, very influential, so to speak. And so you must have an anchor. For someone like me, I've chosen to anchor myself in my faith. You need to anchor yourself somewhere, because life will happen to you. Situations will happen to you. How do you want to stand and stand your ground, even in the face of all that you're going through? That anchor becomes critical. And so I would ask, as ladies, that we need to find that place where we anchor ourselves. Anchor yourself in your faith, anchor yourself in your principles, whatever it is you want to anchor yourself in. I have chosen to anchor myself in my faith, anchor myself, as a Christian in the Word of God. That is what I've chosen to do. You choose the best place to anchor yourself. But remember, that anchor is what keeps you grounded when the wind and the storms come. Okay? So what is value? A lot of people look at value and say, oh, I'm delivering value. But your value must be an economic enhancement that you give to a brand in exchange for or a measure of benefit provided to an economic agent. So every time you think about value, as both as an executive or as an executive transitioning into the board journey or a board role, it needs to be a measurable economic enhancement or a measure of benefit that you can provide to an economic agent. And I find that on the board, particularly the board, yes, as an executive, this is important, but on the board journey, one of the things that becomes critical is what I call your passion. What are you passionate about? Because most people join boards as they're in the mid to late years. And then, that passion becomes that fuel that drives what you do. And you must discover or rediscover that passion because you are unique and your passion really fuels how you deliver value anywhere you are, on the board or as an executive, but more on the board because you don't have the responsibilities of the operations. However, you have also a responsibility, a fiduciary role to play, that you are responsible to all the stakeholders, i.e. the shareholders, the clients, the regulatory authorities as a board member. So value is critical. And that will determine where you land as a board member. Somebody had asked to say, how do you get there? The first thing you need to do is a skills audit because most boards want to match skills with the combination on the board. Every board would like to have a combination of people who have core competence in the industry, then competence in other areas as well that is critical to the delivery of what they are doing, of what the company is delivering. So as a board member or someone on the journey to a board, you need to check yourself and say, where am I in terms of my skills vis-a-vis what people or what boards are looking for. The first, remember that your role is an oversight role. The first I would say is a skill that is important at most boards are looking for now is what we call integrity, transparency, and accountability. A lot of boards want to see that members on their board or their board directors have been proven to have integrity, that know how to share and are transparent and are very accountable. And so you need to go back and look at your trajectory and check out and say, can I show over time that, I'm known in my industry to very big on integrity, I'm transparent, and I'm accountable. Of course, the second will be your experience and your competence in your core area. And then there are some specific areas that are very important as a board member, i.e. audits, i.e. risk, i.e. Financial understanding. All of those skills also come specifically with the board as well. Financial acumen, you must be able to read the books of the company that you are on as a board because, the lifeblood of any organization is what? Cash. And you must know how to read the signs of, good or bad management of the assets of the company. Now, you don't have to be an accountant. I am not an accountant, but you must have a high level of understanding, particularly as an executive. You must have, you probably would have some P&L responsibility. You would understand how to read the books, but it's very important because you must be able to follow what is happening within the company. Every organization, every for-profit organization, has to make money to survive. So you need to be able to read that. Business strategy is a skill that a lot of organizations are looking for in their board directors because one of the major fiduciary duties of a company, of a board, one is the approval of the financials, but the second is also to be how would I say, those that help management in terms of the strategy of the organization. So strategy and financials are two major things that the board is expected to function in and to support the management to do. So you need to understand business strategy. You have to have an analytical mind and understand how to read to get insights out of the numbers or the information that is shared with you. The other thing you need as a board member is what we call emotional intelligence. Your ability to listen. As a board member, you must be a very good listener. You must be able to listen and hear what is being said and not being said. Very important. And then the political sense. The board room is a very political environment where you need to know how to manage, the different interests on the board while still remaining yourself. And which is why I said to you at the beginning, you must remember to be your authentic self, because in the board, there's a lot of political waves going on, and you remain who you are while still being able to navigate that political environment as well. Of course, I'm sure if you Google board today, one of the major things that you'll find as a board that you're responsible for is governance. That is the major role of a board over any company. It's governance. And there's a lot that has been spoken about ESG, about doing business responsibly. That is important. And of course, like I mentioned, risk management. A board is expected to be able to work with management to look at the risk. And the different types of risks. There's reputational risk, there's financial risk, there are different risks, operational risk. You need to understand that as a board member and see, because your job as an oversight, your oversight role is to help management see ahead of time. And because you have the experience, tell them the way this is going, we think that this can happen in the next 6 months if you don't take care. That is why risk becomes very important. And that is why in major organizations, the regulators ask that there must be a risk committee, there must be an audit committee, and there must be a compensation committee. Those committees are, for some industries, regulatory, required by the regulators. So you need to do a skills audit. Look at this. I don't know, Sheyi, if Sheyi's the person is going to give you some excerpts from this presentation, but if you take a screenshot of this, these are skills that you need to check yourself against and say, do I have these skills? The next thing you need to do is about positioning. You need to position yourself. As you put together your board papers, as you think about board work, the question is, how do I position for this? First, you need to be fearless. And I use this word deliberately for us, particularly as female professionals. I was just having a conversation with a neighbor a couple of hours ago about how we as Africans have been brought up. I don't know, and I'm happy that younger female professionals might not have this handicap, but a lot of us were brought up to be very careful, to be very, to always think within our capacity and what we think we can do, and not think outside what we think we can do. And therefore, we self-manage and self-sabotage. And that is why this word is important, be fearless. I believe that you can achieve anything. You can reach for the moon, you can reach for the stars, as long as you are willing to put in the amount of work that is required and to look for every opportunity that helps you to achieve it. So ladies, be fearless. You can aim to be on the board of Apple. Your question you need to ask yourself is, what do I need to be on the board of Apple? What do I need to be on the board of Microsoft? What is needed? Who are the people that are there? What do they have as skills? Where do I start from? Where is the start point? And how do I journey to get there? Be fearless. Be independent-minded. That comes through even as in your interviews, it shows as you engage. And be flexible. Be willing to see other positions and be willing to take on feedback. Be flexible. This is how you position yourself. So when you are asked questions during your board interviews, because the board journey, typically you will have interviews, most times you have interviews. There are times when there are no interviews, but most times you have interviews before you get on the board. And these things need to show as you position yourself in those interviews. I'm independent-minded. I am flexible. I am open. It needs to come across, because a lot of board members are looking for, a lot of boards, the chairmen of boards are looking for people who are flexible, who also have independence in terms of how they think, because they need people that can tell them, give them an outside-in view. Be curious, explore and solve problems. That is the positioning you must show, that I'm curious, I'm willing to learn, I'm open to learning new things. Even, particularly if you are moving from your own industry to position to be on the board of an industry that is new to you. For example, I've always been in financial services and I want to go into health tech or I want to go into edu tech. I need to be able to show that I'm curious, I'm open to explore, and my skills are transferable and I can solve problems irrespective of the industry. And then get involved. Plan your journey and set goals. When I say get involved, in your industry, you need to get involved. Because how do people know that you are independent? How do people know that you have integrity? How do people know that you are the person to work with if you're not involved in your industry? You need to be involved in your local church. You need to be involved in your local community. For example, one of the places where I see most women start off their board journey is they are on the board of those schools where their children attend. You need to be involved. You need to plan that journey deliberately and set goals, set milestones. Towards the end of the presentation, I'm going to share with you a track that you can use, or a tracker you can use to track yourself. Be visible, speak out, be active on social media. Now, I'm not too active on social media. This is my personal, persona, but I found that a lot of people who are active, of course, productively active on social media, they begin to drive, a narrative, and people get to know them for that narrative. So speak out, okay? Network extensively. This is something that is a bit difficult for us as ladies to do and as Africans to do, but it is important. This is where you deliberately go out of, that your comfort zone and talk to people. Share your thoughts, hear their thoughts, hear their opinions, and you learn from them while they learn from you. Like I shared in the first slide, seek out mentors and mentorship platforms. I deliberately sought out mentors, and platforms that help mentor me along the journey. Okay, invest in professional development, continuous learning. I learned this from Madam Awoshika. She's in a classroom a specific number of hours every year. And so I chose to learn that from her. And every year, I make sure I go into a classroom at least 30 hours in a year. Not just reading on my own, but be in the classroom, be it virtual, be it physical classroom. But go into a classroom where I'm taught something completely different from what I'm thinking, that keeps me on the cutting edge and helps me to remain relevant and valuable everywhere I am. So invest in professional development. Continuous learning is important. That needs to come across to those you're networking with, because typically for a board pitch, the first you have a small time to quickly pitch yourself when you meet people, when you network. That 2-minute pitch, all of these things need to come through that 2-minute pitch. And you'll be pitching to someone that you open to board work, and this is the value you bring to the board, and this is how you position yourself as a valuable contributor to that board. So how? The first thing you need to do is to create what we call the credentials. You need to articulate your value. You create what we call the board bio. Create a board resume. In that board bio, your board resume, similar to your exec resume, is just that now the positioning is more advisory than operational. You're not writing about how you do, but you're writing about how you bring your skills to help management to be able to deliver on its goals. So the board bio, your resume is important. LinkedIn is one place where most people go to check you out, to see if what you have said about yourself, what you have said in your resume or your bio is so. And then they also look at the different people who comment about you, who speak about you. They see all of those connections, okay? So your profile, that short profile, very important, where you write who you are, very important. Some weeks ago, I came across an app that actually can score your profile to tell you how well you are doing on a scale of 100. And the first time I put my bio in, my profile in, it gave me 55%. And I had to continue to rework it until I got higher mark. So your personal website, I also created what I call my personal profile, like a personal website, because LinkedIn can only give you as much space. But when you create a personal website, it's called your profile, you are able to talk more about what you do, about who you are, about what you're involved in. It kind of gives you an opportunity to share a broader perspective of you with your with recruiters and with the board, your prospective board chairman. I call something infomercials. One of the things you could also do as part of your credentials is to be, part of those that deliver content that can become an ad, but is also an ad that shares information. Media mentions, as you are involved in your community, as you're involved in your industry, you are probably mentioned in the media as one of the women to look out for, one of the women to, stuff like that is also part of your credentials. Be open and willing to be on panels and to take on speaking opportunities. I know that you can be shy, but however, these are the places where, or the platforms through which you can actually showcase what you have on the inside. And it might not always be just your professional or industry platforms. It could be anywhere where you can showcase your passion. Very important that you're showing people I'm passionate about this. It can be about children, it can be about anything that you're passionate about. Okay? And then make sure you do targeted industry and community contributions. Your industry is doing something, is going in a particular direction, be there to give your own contribution, be there to give your own input. And of course, you can only do that if you have a lot of knowledge. So you deliberately seek out knowledge so that you can become a contributor in your industry. One of the things I'm doing in Canada, I work with a university in Canada as a research contributor, where they are they're putting together research to help the Canadian government to understand payment and payment capacity in Canada, how to expand that. And I work with those research doctorate students as well as the professors to give them the professional opinion as an industry operator. So make sure that you are targeting those opportunities to speak and to contribute. The next thing you need to do when you're put together your bio and your resume and worked on your LinkedIn profile, to identify the industry where you want to start off from, the sector in that industry you want to start off from, and the subsector. So in an industry, you say you want to, you think, for example, financial industry. And so if that's where you want to go, then you ask yourself, is it banking? Is it asset management? Is it insurance? That's a sector in that industry. Then when you do that, then the next thing you then look at that sector to say, let's say in banking, what do I want to go into? Fintech? Do I want to go into paytech? So you look at the industry, you look at the sector, and then the subsector. On that basis, you then target the companies you want to go after. Look at where they have gaps in their board composition, where the company itself has gaps, and where you see your value that you can leverage to help them, and then put a pitch together, a 2-minute pitch that will help you speak to people that can get you access to share your value to the board so that you can come on. Okay? And then there are different board types. There's the advisory board, and this is mostly where most people start from, to be on the advisory board of companies. This is where you start from, because for this, you're not a board director for that company. So the risk for the company or the board is lesser. The risk to you also is lesser because you are actually giving advice. You're not expected to perform fiduciary duties. And so you can learn board activities while not having the responsibility, And of course, most of the advisory board is not as paid as the main board. So it's an easier way to come in. The other easier way to come in is not-for-profit boards. Like I mentioned earlier, you can be on the board of the school your kids attend. You can be on the board of your religious organization, of your religious affiliation. You can be on the board of, a not-for-profit who is focused on helping women. Not-for-profit is one of the other easier ways to come to start your board journey. And then there are private company boards, there are public corporate boards as well. So these are different types of boards that you have. And each of these boards come with their specialties and come with their remuneration as well and their requirements. The bigger the board, the more public the board, the higher the requirements from the board members. How? I would say to you, you need a strategy. As it is with your executive work, also with the board work, there must be a strategy. The first thing you need to ask yourself, as I want to start, my board journey, which role would I really love to be, would I love to get when I get on the board? And there are different roles on the board. You can either be a board member, you can be a board committee chair, you can be the chairman of the board. Some board members come in with specialized skills. You need to choose and say to yourself, which role would I love to play on the board? And then put your positioning, put your documents together with that in mind. Where are the entry points? There's something called shadow boards. A shadow board is a board that is where you are on the board but not on the board. You are brought into shadow board members. So you come in and you look at what board members are doing. You are able to learn while you are in the real boardroom. So it's a shadow board. Like I said, we have the not-for-profit board, but also the advisory board. The advisory board typically is where you start from and then kind of, graduate into being a full board member. But these are different entry points. And some of these points are advertised. Advisory boards at times are advertised. Most people go to startups, because startups typically are the ones that have a lot more on the advisory side. They're the ones that are not fully ready to have a full board, but need people with experience to advise them. So going to startups to help them in an advisory capacity is where you start from. Shadow boards also are advertised. Depends on the platforms that you're on. Then there are different boards. There are boards that are paid and unpaid boards. The unpaid boards are easier to come on because they're not being paid. So the expectations are not too high. And they allow you to learn and to get that experience, while there are boards that you are paid on. Now, there are different boards of company sizes, and these company sizes determine, the complexity of the board and the kind of skills that are required. Okay, so you have the medium, small, medium size, and large corporate boards. You have the market cap. I'm explaining the market cap now. So you have the mega cap, which are mostly the large corporate public boards, and they have values of over $200 billion or more. For such a board, they are well compensated, well remunerated, and the requirements are quite high and steep. They expect a long experience from you. There's specific skills. Most times, boards like this do not take first-time board members. They take experienced board members because of the impact of what you do on such a huge company. Okay, and then we have the large cap as well, market valued between $10 billion and $200 billion. Those ones also, require experienced board members because of the, sheer impact of what you do, the number of people that work under these companies, and how your experience is critical, to be able to be a valuable contributor on that board. We have the mid cap, which is between $2 billion and $10 billion. And then the small cap, which is between $250 million and $2 billion. And micro cap for those that are less than $250 million. And across this line, you'll find entry into all of these boards have different requirements, different skill levels, different understanding of board, is required of them, of board members in these companies. And just to give you an idea, this also means that the remuneration, follows alongside the different caps. So a couple of weeks ago, I was in school, and the guy who sat right beside me is on a I think it's a mid cap towards large cap company, and his remuneration, as at the time we were in school together, was about $326,000 per annum on one of the boards he's sitting on, and it's just a mid cap to large cap company, which means that if you are a large cap company, typically remuneration for board members will go over $500,000 per annum. And then if you're in a mega cap, they're talking about mega, you see what I mean? And which also means that the requirements also are steep and much more as you go higher in terms of capitalization. So what's the plan? When you have done all, you have put together your bio, you have put together your credentials, you have done your pitch, you have put together your positioning, you have looked at the company, the companies, the industry, the sector, the subsector, you have looked at how you want to go, the capitalization of those companies, and how do you then implement your strategy? Friends and family. You begin to put the word out there to friends, to family members, that I am open and ready to join a board. I find that those people around you already know you, they know you well. Your colleagues at work, your former colleague, your former boss knows you well. He knows what you can bring to the table. And so friends and family become that place where you start to speak about your plan, about your readiness to be on the board. You can be a company representative. In the Stanbic group, for example, in Nigeria, you have different companies in the group. You find that management can decide that you in company A can go sit on the board of a company within the group, but in the company B. So you can be a CFO in company A in a group, but the company then puts you, as a board member in company C, within the same group. So look for such opportunities as well to represent your company on boards of organizations. Industry influence. Like I said, if you have been someone that's been contributing in your industry, you have a voice in your industry, most people will look to those voices to come be on boards in that industry or industries where you can leverage your skill. Educational institutions and alumni network. I have benefited from this personally. One of the executive education programs I ran at Harvard Business School is called Harvard Women on Boards. While I did that in 2016, I think in 2021, one of the members of the alumni, took my resume, sent it off to an organization, and in a year, I got a call asking me to come, interview for a board role. And I am on that board today. That is the power of your educational institution or your alumni network. Advocacy groups. There are a lot of advocacy groups for women. One I am a member of. I'm not pitching them to you, but I'm not saying that similar organizations can be very helpful to you, like PAWEN, and that is why I'm very happy to be here. PAWEN is one of those organizations that you can be part of that can help advocate for you as they have those opportunities that are brought to them. The Boardroom Africa is one, Women on Boards is one, Executive Women on Boards, and several organizations that you can be part of that can help advocate for you, to get onto a board. And one of the places I found also that's very, very good at the start is the development finance institutions and multilateral development banks. Like IFC, for example, the World Bank, a lot of these organizations, African Development Bank, they invest in organizations, in companies, and they put experts on the board of those companies to represent them. So begin to look for how, people there, you go on their website, you find out those programs that they have for moving executives into boardrooms that they have investment in, and deliberately, connect with them to register to be part of that and be in their database. VCs and large pension boards also typically invest in companies. These are organizations that you can connect with, and they can put you on boards that they have invested in as well. LinkedIn is one place where it's good. You find opportunities there, but I would say to you that 80% of board seats happen through personal connections. They happen on LinkedIn. Advisory, I know people that have gotten advisory board positions on LinkedIn. I've gotten board positions on LinkedIn, not for profit, but majority of those things happen within your industry, within your network as well. And then there are recruiters. Majority of the major recruitment firms have a board practice. So if you want to get into that database, such that when they are looking for people, they look through the database typically, and your resume is already there, would be a good way to go. So what I've come through so far is who you are, finding out that person you are, and be passionate about it and be your authentic self, putting together your credentials, and then looking at the industry and where you want to play, and then of course your strategy, and then implementing your strategy through a plan. Okay, somebody spoke about boardroom dynamics. Boardroom dynamics, now you have gone through that journey and you're now on the board. How do you function on the board? The first thing you need to think about is you need to spend time understanding the board. When I joined my first paid board, I was told that I need to spend the first 2 meetings understanding the board. And I'm grateful for that advice, because when I joined the board, the first meeting, there were a couple of things that did not make sense to me in terms of what management was doing. And the typical me, I would have jumped in to say, no, this is wrong, this is wrong, this is wrong. But because I've been advised to take the first board or second board meeting to understand deeply the company and what the history and all of that, because you never get all of that history from just the board paper that is sent to you. By the second board meeting, I then understood the history behind why things were the way they were. And I was grateful that I didn't jump in, because I would have basically put my feet in my mouth, and I was able to understand better. So I would say that when you get on the board, the first thing you need to understand is understand the board. The second thing you need to understand is the power divides and the dynamics. On every board, you have a chairman and you have other people. There are different types of boards. You have public company boards. You have family boards, where it's a family company. They are very big, but still a family company. That kind of company, the chairman might not necessarily be the power broker on that board. So you need to understand where the power really sits. Who are the people that really decide things in that company and decide things on that board? You need to understand the power divides. You need to understand how the power play happens. If you're a family board, for example, you don't want to be seen to be favoring the firstborn and not favoring the other children, or the children of the first wife, or dynamics always happen. Even on a public board, you don't want to be seen to be in a particular camp and not following this camp, because what then happens is that you'll not be independent, and then your decision making is influenced by the camp you're on. So you need to understand the power divides and the dynamics on each board. Then you need to evaluate the gaps on the board and see where you can fully showcase your skills and stand out. So on the boards where I'm on, because I have background in technology, because I have background, I have background in digital transformation, in business transformation, I know a lot about innovation. I know a lot about business modeling and innovation through business modeling. All of those things are the things I bring to the table. And I looked at my board and I chose that I give my opinion across board, across different topics, across different areas of the business. However, I am known now on my board to be very big on product management, on technology, on strategy. So when the board is looking to say who is the person who is going to give us feedback on these areas of the business, specifically, they typically look to me, because I've been able to showcase that I saw this gap on the board, and this is where I'm going to be showcasing my skill and stand out. So because each board member is an expert in an area, you need to choose that area and make sure it's an area where you can stand out and shine and show your value. One of the things you need to understand on any board is the macro and the micro. The micro are things that affect your company directly, in that's your business and your industry. Macro is what affects the whole of the country, that ultimately affects your business. Because as you make financial decisions, remember the board's fiduciary duties around what? The financials of the company, governance, as well as what strategy. You need to understand the impact of, for example, if you are in Africa, if you are in Nigeria, for example, you need to understand the impact of devaluation of Naira on the business that you are on this board. If you are in Asia, in Africa, currency valuation is a big issue, everywhere in the world, but more in Asia, more in Africa, and maybe in the Middle East as well. So you need to understand the macro. What are the headwinds coming into the country? How do those headwinds affect the company that you are on this board? Because that will also affect the kind of contribution you make on the board, if it's going to be valuable or if it's not going to be valuable, because you understand the bigger picture and you understand also the micro as well. Be known, like I said, as a subject matter expert on your board. understand the strategy of the business, be on top of the risk of the business, and know about audit. You don't have to be an auditor to know about audit. The risk of the business tells you how well the business is going. Audit tells you, because audit is always retrospective, okay? So you need to understand, and that helps you in terms of how you want to do going forward. But you must understand the strategy of the business and see if the risk the business is taking aligns with their strategy, as well as, then you can then speak to the audits as well. Governance, internal best practice, you need to seek knowledge. You need to know governance. Well, that is your major duty as a board member, to make sure that things are done properly. You are bringing, you are the advocate, and you are the ones that, as a board, that's responsible to support management in driving governance within the organization. Like I said earlier, you need to stay authentic. You need to choose a goal based on your passion and push it. For me, on every board I'm on, I make it known very early on that I'm very passionate about women and women empowerment. I'm very passionate that women have equal opportunity in any company I'm on this board, and they have the voice and they are visible. I'm very passionate about that. I'm very passionate about the customer, making sure that the customer, gets the best that we can deliver, and that we do that through properly governed processes. So I'm very passionate about those two things, and I'm very passionate about using technology to drive growth. So be known about what you're passionate about. One of the things you need to, as per boardroom dynamics, is you must be present. You cannot be on a board and be seen not to be present, where you are not contributing actively, you are not part of the conversations, you're not driving conversations, you're not contributing to the conversations. It's critical, okay? And then, like I said, that unique thing we bring to the table, that intuition. Trust your intuition. You are humane, and that feminine intuition is a great advantage. I've seen it time and time again, that feminine intuition is a great, great advantage. And so this is how you run in terms of dynamics on the board. You know the power plays going on. You bring to the table tangible value, that you are known as an expert on the board. They look to you for specific parts of the running of the board as a member, and you're authentic, you are yourself. You understand the micro and the macro. You see that you understand the broader picture, and you are an invaluable member of the team, of the board team. My next slide speaks to this thing I got from Walt Disney. It says the way to get started is to quit talking and begin doing. So the question you're going to ask yourself at this point is, what do I want to begin to do? What do I want to begin to do? Where do I want to start from? You can start a lot, you can start a little. You can start by just even enumerating the value you think that you have that will be valuable to any company. You can start from there. Before you begin to think about putting your credentials together and all of those things I've shared, the first place to start is to write down value. Not just because of the board journey, but even for yourself. You need to know what value you have that is valuable to the environment you are in. Okay, I tell people that even in marriage, it is a matter of value. Marriage is an exchange of value. Yes, your husband or your spouse is expecting certain things from you, and you also are expecting certain things from him. In marriage is an exchange of value. At work is an exchange of value. In your local environment, your local community is an exchange of value. So writing that down and understanding what value you bring to the table, to your home, to your friends, even to your friends. I'm sure you know that you have some friends that when you want to talk about money, you go to. Some friends when you want to talk about your vision, your strategy for your life, you go to. You got some friends to talk to about your career. And you have some friends that you only do gossip with. You know that all you can do with this person is gist. Even with friends, there's value. You determine what the value is, And the same thing too, those friends look at you and determine the value that they get from you and choose how they position you, how important you are to them. So write it down. What are you in terms of value to your friend, to your family, to your spouse, to your organization, to your community? Start from there. You'll be surprised that even that will help emanate for you, your passion, because you see some recurring things in all of these places that you're trying to determine where your value is. Okay, so start by doing. This is what a board track looks like. So you put together a track for yourself and say, first, let me do a research. Then after you have done your research, you have put together all your stuff. You then, start to engage. And then you find out from your research, I have some gaps. You do the skills improvement, but all of this is tracked. You track it before you then get to, a board interview and get on the board. And then there's a next level, because the question you ask yourself is, what next? I had the first board, I'm on the second board, I'm on the third board, what next? Let's talk about what next. What next is what I call advancement. After you have done an assessment of your value to determine the delta at which you are currently operating and the desired board level, what next? The what next is to become a professional board member, where as you transit from full executive work into board membership, you're thinking to yourself, what next? You have started from a not-for-profit, from an advisory board into a for-profit. What do I need to get into a small cap? With that small cap, I know I need skill A, B, C, D, and this certification. And then you expect, this is kind of remuneration or package I get as a board member at a small cap. Then what next is then the next level, the next level, there is always a next level. And you need to do an annual audit of yourself and say, how do I want to advance? There are people that, I was talking to SKP yesterday, and we're looking at the life of one of my mentors. And in the last 10 years, she has focused majorly on board work. Our companies are working well, prospering. But if you notice that she's focused majorly on board work, and as she's focused on board work, what has happened? That has positioned her, and she now has a lot of impact across the world, particularly with international organizations. You find organizations like World Bank, calling her to come and give her opinion, because now that is her what next. So you need to look at yourself and say, what is my what next at every level and time in life? So I think that's my last slide. SKP, I'm open for questions at this time. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mrs. Bashir. That was an amazing session. I don't know, I'd like to see comments in the comment box. What was your experience? I mean, I had a total mind shift, yes. But so that we don't waste much of our time, we will take questions now. But before we take questions, I want to share with you, Mrs. Bashir had talked about Paywen as an organization that can help you in your board journey. And so I want to talk about one of our programs that we launched recently. And the name of the program is Onboard Her. This is one of Paywen Leadership Institute's program. It's our flagship program. And it's primarily designed to empower women like you, women in leadership, to get their first role. And so what does the program entail? It's an innovative initiative by us, focusing on amplifying the representation of women on corporate and organizational boards. Now, we've seen that for many women, starting the board journey is not just about the desire, but it's about education, having the competence, and also having the experience. So for some people, yes, you go for many of the programs that you have in different organizations. I don't want to mention names that provide you with the competence. But then if you don't have the experience, you do not get on boards. And just like, the thing with employment, I mean, you're being asked for years of experience, but hey, if someone doesn't give you that first step, how would you get that experience? So Onboard Her is a program that offers not only the comprehensive training, but also the vital hands-on experience through short-term advisory board placements. So what does this mean? A lot of people who go through the Onboard Her program actually get placed in advisory board roles for nonprofit organizations or startups or small and medium scale and medium and large scale enterprises. Now, these placements are considered as developmental pathways empowering and preparing women to take on more prominent board roles in private and public sector. We want a world in which board decisions are, we know that board decisions are pivotal. However, we need more women to be placed on these boards. And how can we place these women? By giving them that in route, that first door that opens for them and gives them that a platform for them to actually take their board and their board seats. So what are the components of this program? First and foremost, you have the 13 weeks training that every member of that program will go through. And we also have visibility and coaching, which is done as part of the 13 weeks training. We have mentoring from experienced female board members. And then at the end of this 13 weeks program, you then get on to be placed on board roles. You have a 6-month board placement that gives you and equips you with the practical experience that you need, right? And these board roles could be advisory boards, could be nonprofit boards, largely advisory boards and nonprofit boards. We're also exploring shadow boards, right, for more experienced female executives. And then this program also gives you networking opportunities. We have, like on this call, we have participants from about 32 African countries that are represented on this call. So networking with other C-suite leaders across not just your country, but across different countries in Africa and outside of Africa is a key feature of this program, as well as ongoing support. Now, how can you be a part of this program? The first stage, because we are very, very particular about the outcomes of this program, the first stage is to apply. Once you apply, we will screen your application, and if we think that you're a good fit for the program, we will then send you payment details for the program. The program costs $150 as an introductory price for this program. We know that comparable programs that don't even offer placements cost about $500 USD and above. However, because this is the first time that we are running this program, so we are providing an introductory price of $150 US, but this is only for the people who get selected to be part of the program. Applications will be closing soon, so if you want to apply, please go onto the site, bit.ly/onboard2. Please don't forget to put 2 after onboard her, right? So that it gives you this access to the application form. But not to worry, to everyone who's on this call, we are going to send an email with the form, with the link, direct link to the form so that you can apply. Please make sure you apply as soon as possible because we have limited slots. We have just 40 slots for this initial cohort, and we will be giving out the slots on a first come, first serve basis. So that's about it. Before we take on the questions, I'd like to do a poll. I'm going to launch the poll now. Please respond to the question. Can you see the poll? Yes, fantastic. I've seen some answers. So please respond to the poll. To what degree was your expectations met from today's session? Please complete the poll. And whilst that is going on, we will then take the questions. I'm going to, did I share my screen? Okay, I'm not even sure. Okay, yes, I did share it. All right. So we'll take the questions now. We'll have 4 questions. I've tried to answer some of the questions to the best of my ability, but we have 4 live questions remaining. So I'm going to read the first question from Ola Lawal. Okay, let me also state that Onboard Her is a program for only women, because I saw that some men applied, registered for this session. Please note that unless it's only Tech Up Africa that we are gender agnostic, all payments programs are specifically targeted towards African women. Thank you. So Olalawa says that, can I function as an effective board member if I'm lacking on one of the skills required to be a board member? If I determine that I possess most of the skills required, but not all during the skills audit, can I leverage my strengths to still provide value?
Should I take the question?
Yes, please. Yes, please.
Yes, Ola, you can. Nobody gets on the board with all the skills they want. I can tell you from my experience and from the advice I received from my mentors, nobody gets on the board with all the skills they want. But your consciousness and awareness of where you have gaps is important, because you then progressively work towards, fixing those gaps. But yes, the answer to your question is yes, you can't start where you are, because you will never, board work is progressive, is dynamic. The skills that the board members required 5 years ago is different now. I was listening to a podcast yesterday that the skills board members required 2 years ago, 3 years ago, did not have cybersecurity in it, did not have AI in it. It was okay to just understand financials and to understand strategy. 5 years ago, you did not have to understand, ESG as to be a board member. But now is a requirement to understand cybersecurity, to understand, ESG, to understand all of these things that are now critical, So even the board members of 5 years ago now still have to reskill. So I would say to you, yes, you can start where you are, but be aware, be conscious of the gaps you have, and work towards closing those gaps.
Thank you very much, Ma. And so the second question is from Priscilla, and she says, does Harvard have a course for board members? Please share details.
Yes, my very first, and I'm grateful to Harvard Business School for this. Not that I'm trying to market Harvard, but when I'd been an alumni of Harvard since 2013. And then one day in 2016, I got an email from Harvard Business School saying that I've been nominated to attend the first cohort of a board program for women, aspiring board members. So the first program I'm going to tell you about Harvard is for aspiring board members who are already executives but want to go on boards. Okay, and it's called Harvard Women on Boards. And I was called to be part of the initial cohort in 2016. At that time, I had no clue about board work. It was not even on my radar at all. But that program helped to reshape, my thinking towards board work. And, I am here today because of that, in terms of board work, because of that program. So Harvard has one called the Harvard Women on Boards for aspiring female board members. The one I just finished a couple of weeks ago in July is what we call the Certified Board Director program, which helps you to be certified as a board director in audit, a board director in compensation, and a board director in governance. So Harvard also has that. So I think they have a couple of programs like that. And other major Ivy League schools also have board readiness programs as well. And PayWen is another one that I think you should look at, because a lot of people like us are going to be in that faculty to bring that combination from all the different Ivy League schools to help you understand how to be a board member.
Thank you so much, Ma. So we have another question. Okay, I'm not sure I understand it, but maybe you will understand it. So this is from Sisanga Wanza. I hope I got that right. She says, what advice would you share on how to manage being effective serving on owner-managed businesses where the shareholders also hold majority seats on the board they constitute?
Okay, so she's speaking, I also don't want to murder your name, but I think she's speaking to family-owned or owner-owned boards. And that is one tricky board that you really need to understand the political dynamics. Because typically there's more than just board work there. There are family issues and emotions going on, But one of the things I always advise people when you're on a board that is family-owned, or like you said, owner-owned, and they have majority seats on the board, is to keep your independence, keep your authenticity, and be fair. Let them get to know that you are not sitting in the camp of anyone. You are sitting solely in the camp of the company, which is how to move the company forward. But while you are doing that, you must recognize the power play. So you must know the chairperson who is powerful, who the chairperson favors, where the power is, where the voice is. You know, because with family-owned or owner-owned businesses, there's always someone that has more power than the other. It's just that way. It's like in your family as well. You have the firstborn who has voice. You know, you have the richest person in the house who has voice. All of those things have to be considered. So you need to understand where the power really sits, and then speak truth to power. That's how I would say it. Know where the power sits and speak truth to power. Let them know that you're independent. Let them know you're authentic, and that you would always say the truth. They might not like you. They might not like your style, but they would respect you and look to you when there's a need for an arbiter, someone who is neutral, who can come with truth to power. So that is what I would advise.
Fantastic. Okay, so before I go on to the next questions, I'd like to say that I've just shared the links to our social media platforms, our YouTube channel. Please ensure that you subscribe to that channel and also watch the videos. We have several videos from all of our programs. So there's so many educational videos there for you to learn from, right? Especially if you want to be in tech or if you want to be an entrepreneur. More than 50 videos there for you to watch. And also please follow us on social media, because we upload all our opportunities on social media. We have one opportunity currently on, which is scholarship for the Tech Up Africa mentoring program, as well as this program, the Onboard program. I'm not sure we put up the flyer, but follow us on social media so that you get to know about all our programs as and when we launch them. All right, Ola Lawal again has a second question and is asking, what is the best way to grow one's understanding of the management of the political dynamics of a board?
Okay, so I think I've answered it in different ways, but let me just be specific. When you come into it, but let me use myself as an example. You come into a board, the first thing you need to do is sit back and listen to everyone speaking. At the beginning, you see that everybody is throwing their opinions in. Somebody is, and then you will see a pattern emerge where when everybody has finished speaking, somebody's word takes preeminence, takes preeminence. You will notice that the person might not even be the chairperson, but when the person speaks, it looks like everybody agrees or everybody kind of flows towards that person. You understand that this person either knows more than everybody, or has power, or has both of them an ability to make things happen on the board. So the first thing you need to understand, there are some people who feed such people. So you need to first recognize quickly, does the power sit with the chairman? Or is the chairman just there to represent someone else behind the scene who is making the decisions? You need to look at that and take your first 2-3 board meetings to understand where the real power sits, particularly with family-owned or owner-managed boards, okay? That's the first thing you need to check out. The second thing you need to then check out is, who feeds this person who owns the power with information? Who does that person listen to more on the board? Does the person listen to A, B, C, D? The reason why I'm saying this is that because you have to influence people to get your own agenda through. So first, who really owns the power, or who are the people who owns the power on the board? Second is who are that feed them with information. Because there's a second level of power. Because everybody likes to have someone who they kind of check or sound things by. So you know those people. Then you see those people who don't have power, who don't feed the power people with information, but cause trouble. So if you want those people that just disrupt the board, you need to know when to use them to get attention to what you want. So those are the kind of things you look at on the board. You look at those people that are quiet, are peacemakers. There's some people on the board who are peacemakers, who are not very good with confrontation, but they like to make peace. So you look at the different people and the different roles, and then determine in terms of every board meeting what you want to achieve at that board meeting, and who or which part of the board you want to align your ask with to get what you want through. It's not always good to always go to the guy who owns the power, but you can influence those that give him information. feed them with information that you know they will definitely pass to, the chairman. There's a proverb from where I come from in Nigeria that says that if you want a deaf person to hear what you want to say, you say it in front of a child, because there's always a way the child speaks to the deaf parent. So basically, you know how to pass information through the right channels and then influence, because your job is your ability there is to influence and get things done. So that's how you look at dynamics and look at the power play and decide how you want to work.
Wow, that's a strategy on another level. Thank you so much for that. So we have another question from Ejiro Genet Pepe. I hope I read this right, but it looks like Pepe. Is there a specific years of experience or required qualifications needed to start a board journey?
I would say that, except you are excuse me if this sounds like porn or I'm being sarcastic, but except if you are the daughter of Dangote, or you're the daughter of Otedola, or the richest man in Africa, who can get on the board just because of your family name, you need experience. Because what you are bringing to the table as a board member, your currency is your experience and your skill. That's the currency you are trading. That's what you call value. So you are bringing your skill, your experience, knowledge to the table. That said, really, I don't think that there must be only a number of years, because people think experience is only in documented experience or informal experience. Experience can be learned anywhere without having gone through a formal workspace or a formal organization or a school. So, but you must have experience. And that's why I'm not saying yes to a number of years specifically, because experience can be anything from anywhere without having gone through a formal process to gather that experience. But you do need experience and you do need skill, because that is what you bring to the table to help create value on the board.
Thanks so much, Maya. And Sisanga, I like the way you put it. Your currency is your experience. Absolutely. That is what you're trading in on the board. All right, we have another question from another powerful woman who's also, one of, the top women who are supporting us in this Power and Leadership Institute. Her name is Napa Nwusa, right? And she's asking, did you ever have imposter syndrome in your first few board positions? And can you share with us how you overcame it?
I think, everyone feels that way. It's normal, and I don't think that it's right to make people feel that imposter syndrome is a disease. It's not. And the reason why I'm saying this is that every time you move from one level to the other, you have to learn the new level. When you move from being an entry-level staff to being a mid-management staff, there's stuff you have to learn at that level, which means that you're not fully comfortable at that level. So you would have those times when you would doubt if you are able or you have the capacity to do what you have been called to do. And that is where those anchors that I told you about earlier come into play. Where are you anchored? Do you understand that you are beautifully and wonderfully made? Do you understand that you have wisdom? You have capacity? Do you know, all of those things have to be innate inside of you before you can successfully navigate every new level you get into. Because for every new level, there is doubt. Because you're just learning the skills at that new level. You're just learning the ability to deliver at that new level. So you would always have imposter syndrome. And what do I do to answer the question? I go and check at this level, what do people do to become successful, to be outstanding? And then, do that audit and tell myself, where am I falling short? What do I need to make up for it? For example, the whole of July I spent in school because I did an audit and I told myself, I want to go from mid cap to large cap to mega cap. What am I finding that is required at these levels as a board member? And I found that I had this lack. So what did I do? I had to go and get that information. So at every level, imposter syndrome comes in, that feeling like, am I able to succeed here? Do I have what is required? Because it's a new level. I typically will go check myself out. Where am I lacking? And I always go back to people that have been at that level and hear them speak to me about what they did. So that is where you need to go into those mentoring platforms, go to mentors, go to even friends or colleagues who have been there. And you'll find that actually it's not a big deal. It's just a different way of saying things. So I would do an audit of myself, see what I need to fix, and then speak to people who can also tell me how they have done it, and and take off from there.
All right. So our final question, and she says, how do you control corporate bullying?
Okay, before I answer that question, on the chat, somebody said, can I share the profile auditing app? SKP, please, let's connect. I can share that with SKP.
Okay. So I'll share it with everyone once we're sending the final email.
Yeah.
So we'll send it out to everyone, don't worry.
Yeah. Okay, so finally, how can you control corporate bullying? Okay, what do you, let's take it out of the corporate context, and let's just even ask, bullies, how do you manage bullies? How do you stop? You see, I believe that there are other seminars I have taken about politics and managing yourself in the corporate environment. And I tell people, this is the first thing you need to do first is to have a mindset. It's very important that you have a particular mindset. And I said to them, the women at that seminar, I said, you see, politics in any organization is not personal. Everybody in an organization has a strategy or a plan of how to climb the ladder and get to the top. You must have a strategy. I must have a strategy. Otherwise, people will step on your head to get to the top and never think it is personal. They just want to get to the top anyway. Some people do it the right way. They have principles and they do good politics, while some people do bad politics, which you should never be part of. However, the first thing you need to understand that it is not personal. And if you think that way, then you know how to, without emotion, stop anything that you think is bullying towards you. Second thing you do is, first, what is the value I bring to them? Do I know that value? Am I visible with that value? Am I positioning that value properly? Because if you are valuable to an organization, other people in the organization who do not want to lose you will not allow you to be bullied, or will try to make sure that doesn't happen. That's the second thing. So value, because even you need to know your value so you can stand up for yourself. It is when you feel like, oh, I'm not enough, they're managing me here, and you are trying to hide, and then somebody does rubbish to you, you accept it because you are afraid that you can be kicked out. When you know your value and you know who you are, you know that if I leave this company today, the next day I'm already on my way to somewhere else because I'm very valuable. It changes the way you see us and when you position. Because this matter of bullying, I believe that it is like the way a dog can smell fear. The same way, an animal can smell blood. When they smell the blood, they smell the fear, they come after you because they know they can bully you. That's the second thing. The third thing is that be authentic. Let people know that this is who you are. This is what you will take and this is what you will not take. In the morning, in the afternoon, and at night. I use those words to say that when you start in any organization, be known not to accept ABC. When I started in technology, I would go to a seminar and I'll be the only woman among 400 men. I will be the only woman among 300 men. I will go for meetings, I'll be the only one wearing a skirt. At a point, I used to wear long skirts because, when I sit and my skirts kind of ride up a little, the men are not looking at the presentation, they're looking at my legs. And I'm uncomfortable, and I begin to hide myself. I wear bulky stuff, I can't wear shapely things because I'm the only one among men and everybody else I'm walking. I became so self-conscious. But at a point, I told myself, no, this is rubbish. They need to know. Because of course, when you're passing by them, they are whistling, they are making comments. So at the point, I had to stop it. I said, guys, there's nothing here except work and professional work. And so you need to take a stand and let them know that I'm not going to be part of this. In my organization where I work, I let people know I'm not part of gossip. If you come tell me about somebody, I can assure you I'll tell the person next day. So be sure of what you're saying to me. I'm not part of gossip, I'm not part of, so be very clear as to the things that you will not take. Let people know that you will not be involved, you're not willing to climb the ladder on your back. Let them know that. Let people know you're not willing to climb the ladder by spoiling or gossiping about people or sucking up to the boss. Be wise, be respectful, be courteous, be that person that supports your boss, but let those things be clear. When you're very clear, because bullies walk in the corridor of no clarity. I found that out. And a bully is empowered when there's no clarity, there's a gray area. When a bully knows that there's no gray area, you're like this, and you're not going to take this, they know how to come after you, and they know that you're going to push back. So it's very important that you take a stance. Above all, be valuable, and if you can't take it anymore, make sure you report that person. Or when you report that person, be ready to take whatever comes with that report. And when you do that and you take a stand, if you are on the path of truth and you're a value contributor, you will win that battle.
Wow.
Well, that's how I won my own industry anyway.
Wow. This has just been on your values with your full chest. Who was that? I can't see the name, but somebody just put that. Thank you so much, Ma. This has just been an incredible session, right? Filled with so many nuggets. I have to go and listen to this webinar again, because I mean, there's just been so many nuggets, but I've been unable to jot them down. Ladies, right? Please help me say thank you to Mrs. Boshoro, because I don't even know how to say thank you to her. She's poured out of herself. And there's no other session that you would go for, or there's no one else that you'll listen to that will just pour out of themselves, unhindered, unbridled, giving so much value, giving so much knowledge, giving so much strategic tips on how to succeed as a board member. I have shared her LinkedIn profile as well as my own. Please, the only way you can say thank you to her, please go and connect with her on LinkedIn or follow her on LinkedIn, please. Thank you so much, Matt. This has been valuable. I mean, I didn't expect anything less. It is Mrs. Toby Boshoro anyways. Her sessions are always value-packed. And if you want to, get the opportunity to be mentored by her, please join or apply to be on the Onboard Her program. Yes, she's one of our big mentors, and she will be having at least one mentoring session with all the participants. Thank you. So I see the chat room. Thank you. We cannot take any questions again. We have short time. Okay, yes, okay, this question has been answered, okay. So thank you so much, Ma. It's been indeed a honor and a privilege. I'm just going to share the results of the poll. Can you see? A lot of people said, so 45% said it exceeded their expectations, and